The Secret of Success, 1908, by William Walker Atkinson, is a powerful exploration of personal development and success, blending ideas from New Thought philosophy with practical self-improvement techniques. Atkinson delves into the mindset required to achieve success, emphasizing the power of will, positive thinking, and mental discipline. He argues that success is not just about luck or external circumstances, but about cultivating the right attitude, focus, and determination. The book encourages readers to take control of their own destinies, overcome obstacles with resilience, and harness their inner potential to achieve their goals. Atkinson's message is clear. Success is within reach for anyone willing to work for it and master the secrets of their own mind. Now, there's been a lot of pointless talk and empty phrases about success that we're hesitant to position ourselves as teachers on the subject. It's easy to fill pages with advice, but much harder to put that advice into action. Anyone can write a set of rules, but actually going out and following those rules in real life is a different challenge. We're aware that by writing this, we might be seen as one of those do as I say, not as I do types of teachers, and that's something we want to avoid. However, there's another side to this conversation. Success isn't just about listing a bunch of qualities that lead to it, a list everyone knows by now. There's something more to it. That something is the idea that deep within each of us lies a source of strength that, if tapped into and put into action, can help us achieve success. It's not about following a strict set of rules, but unlocking what's already inside us. So, we'll use this book to share our thoughts on what this something is and how it can lead to real success when we put it into practice. Everyone is working towards some form of success. The idea of success might vary from person to person, but everyone agrees that reaching their goal is important. That's really what success boils down to: attainment. It's about reaching the goal you set for yourself. That's the key: attainment. Many have tried to show the path to success, and while some have given helpful advice to others on the same journey, no one can fully explain success. This makes sense because each person has to figure out their own way as they travel their unique path to success. No two people have the exact same temperament. Nature loves variety and creates differences in everyone. No two life situations are exactly the same either. There's a never-ending variety in the circumstances we all face. Because of this, it would be foolish to think that a single set of rules could lead everyone to success. If you look around at the different people in the world, you'll quickly see that their needs are unique, and it's impossible to come up with one set of instructions that would work for everyone when it comes to achieving success. Every person who has found success has done so in their own unique way. Most people who succeed have followed their own original path. In fact, individuality, the trait that makes each person different, has played a big role in the success of most people. This individuality often causes people to break away from rigid rules and follow their own path instead. So as a general rule, it can be said that everyone must work out their own success by following their own individuality rather than trying to stick to a set of rules or a specific way of doing things. Yes, we believe that everyone must create their own path to success by following their individuality rather than some pre-planned formula. And that's exactly where the secret of success comes in. It lies in a person's individuality. To succeed, you must follow your own path, which means you need to have a strong sense of individuality in the first place. The more individuality you express, the closer you are to unlocking the first key to success. That's what we mean by the secret of success. It's all about tapping into your own individuality. Everyone has individuality inside them, but only a few people actually allow it to shine through. Most of us are like sheep, following along behind a confident leader, believing that this leader knows everything and that we can't figure things out for ourselves. Instead of unlocking our own hidden strengths and potential, we let them stay buried and we just follow along with the crowd. People are a lot like sheep in this way. Instead of taking responsibility for making their own decisions and choosing their own direction, they wait for someone else to lead, and then they quickly follow. And unsurprisingly, the leaders take the best opportunities for themselves and leave the followers with whatever's left. But that's not unfair. The leaders have earned the best rewards because they have shown individuality and initiative, which the followers lack. In fact, leaders become leaders because they push themselves forward and take charge. If they stood back and waited, they would have been pushed aside by the very people they now lead, who would choose someone else more willing to step up. In this audiobook, we're not trying to convince you to become a leader just for the sake of leading others. Leading a group of people often leads to nothing more than pride and shallow satisfaction. What's truly valuable is developing enough individuality and initiative to become your own leader, to guide your own life without waiting for someone else to tell you what to do. The goal isn't to lead others, it's to be in charge of yourself. The truly great men, the strong men, don't care about the crowd that blindly follows them. They find no joy in being followed, a feeling that only pleases smaller minds with shallow ambitions. The greatest men and women throughout history have found their real satisfaction not in the applause of the masses or the obedience of those who try to copy them, but in the deep, inner sense of strength and ability that they felt growing within themselves. This feeling of personal power and confidence meant far more to them than the praise of others. This thing we call individuality is real, and it exists in each of us. It's not something limited to a few people. It can be developed and brought to life in anyone as long as we approach it in the right way. Individuality is the true expression of ourselves. It's what we mean when we say, I. Each of us is an individual, a unique I that is different from every other I in the world. And the more we express and unfold the powers of that I, the more we become strong, successful, and great. This power is inside all of us. It's up to each of us to bring it out and make it shine. This personal expression of individuality is at the very core of the secret to success. That's why we use the term the secret of success, and it's what we're going to talk about in this audiobook. Learning this secret can truly benefit you, and it's worth your time to understand it. Chapter 2. The Individual. In the last lesson, we explained that the secret of success mainly involves the free expression of your individual self, what we call the I. But before you can use this idea effectively, you need to understand what the I inside of you really is. At first, this might seem like an odd or unnecessary thing to think about, but it's incredibly important. When you fully grasp what the I is, you begin to unlock real power in your life. If you pause and take a moment to reflect on yourself, you'll realize that you're more complicated than you might have originally thought. There's the I, which is your true self, your core identity, the individual. Then there's the me, which is something attached to the I, your personality, and all the things that make up your external self. To make this clearer, let's break it down. The I is your real self, while the me is made up of three main parts. 1, your physical body. 2, your vital energy. And 3, your mind. A lot of people think of their bodies as their I, but if you take a moment to think about it, you'll realize that your body is just a material vessel or a machine that the I uses to express itself. The body is simply a tool through which the real I acts. In fact, you can feel a deep sense of who you are, your I am, even when you're not thinking about your body at all. This shows that your true self, the I, is separate from the physical body. The body belongs to the me. Think about it this way. After a person dies, their physical body remains, but the I is gone. The body by itself isn't the true self. Additionally, your physical body is always changing. The cells in your body are constantly being replaced, so the body you have today isn't the same one you had a year ago, yet the I inside of you stays the same. That's another reason why the body is part of the me and not the I. The real I is beyond the ever-changing physical body. The second part of the me is what we call vital energy, or simply life force. This energy is separate from the body it powers, and though it keeps the body active, it's not permanent or unchanging. It's something that comes and goes, serving only to bring life to the body. It's another tool that the I uses, making it part of the me. So, what's left for the I to understand about itself? Most people would immediately say, it's the mind. That's how I know everything you've just said is true. But hold on for a second. When you say I know something, aren't you admitting that the mind is just another instrument the I uses? Think about it. Are your thoughts really the I? You know that your emotions change, your feelings fluctuate, and your ideas shift depending on the situation. Even your thoughts are influenced by outside forces or controlled by something deeper that you call I, your true self. If your thoughts, feelings, and ideas can all change, there must be something behind them that's more stable, something that's aware of them and in control of them. You know your thoughts and emotions like you know an object outside of yourself, but you also know they aren't you. When you say, I feel, I think, or I believe, what's the real self in those statements? The changing mental states or the I that's behind them, directing them? It's not your mind that truly knows, it's the I that uses the mind to understand the world. If this concept is new to you, it might seem a bit abstract, but give it some thought, and it will start to make sense. We're not telling you this to get into deep philosophy or psychology. There are plenty of books that go into detail about these topics. Our reason for bringing this up is much simpler. When you fully grasp the idea of the I, your real self, you begin to unlock a sense of power. Realizing the true I with clarity will make you feel stronger and more in control than ever before. Before you can truly express your individuality, you have to understand that you are an individual. You must be fully aware of this I within you before you can realize your potential. The me side of you is what people call your personality, your outer self. This personality is made up of habits, traits, behaviors, and thoughts. It's all the little quirks and personal traits that you've probably thought were the real I all along, but they aren't. Do you know where the idea of personality comes from? If you look in any good dictionary, you'll see that the word personality comes from the Latin word persona, which referred to the masks that actors wore in ancient times. This word persona is made up of two other words, sonare, meaning to sound, and per, meaning through. Together they mean to sound through, because the actor's voice would be heard through the mask of the character they were playing. Even today, one of the definitions of person in the dictionary is a character or part, as in a play, an assumed character. So, personality is like the role you play in the big drama of life, on the stage of the world. But behind that mask of personality is the real you, the true self, the I. This I is what you feel when you say I am. It's your true existence filled with untapped power. The word individual means something that cannot be divided or broken down, something that remains whole no matter what happens from the outside. It represents something real and enduring. You are an individual, a real self, an I. You are equipped with life, mind, and the ability to use your power as you see fit. A poet named Orr expressed this idea beautifully in a poem. Lord of 1,000 worlds am I, and I reign since time began. And night and day in cyclic sway shall pass while their deeds I scan. Yet time shall cease ere I find release, for I am the soul of man. This poem captures the powerful essence of the I, that deep part of you that has existed throughout time, observing and influencing the world. It shows that your real self, your I, is timeless and holds incredible strength. Chapter 3. Spiritedness. Spiritedness. When you first hear this word, spiritedness, you might think it has something to do with spirits or ghosts, or maybe even the soul or some higher part of it that we often call the spirit. But that's not how we mean it here. We're using the word in a different way, one that's recognized by many advanced thinkers and teachers in the world of spiritual and inner exploration. If you look up the word spirit in Webster's dictionary, one of the meanings you'll find is energy, liveliness, enthusiasm, courage, and so on. Webster also defines spirited as being full of life, animated, vigorous. These definitions give you an idea of what we mean by spiritedness, but there's even more to it. To us, the word spirit represents the true essence of the universal power, the force that makes everything in the universe what it is. In people, this power is shown as the core of their being, their true strength and potential, the source from which everything that makes a person unique flows. Spiritedness is not about being otherworldly, soft, or overly spiritual in the sense of being detached from life. Instead, it's about being full of energy and life. It's about being filled with power that comes from deep within, from the very center of your being, what we might call the I am part of you, the source of your mind and awareness. This spiritedness can show itself in different amounts in different people, and even in animals. It's a basic and powerful expression of life itself, and it's not based on education, refinement, or culture. You don't need a fancy upbringing to have it. It's something more primitive and instinctive, a recognition of the deep inner strength that comes from the universal power that flows through all living things. Some animals even seem to have this same kind of spiritedness. One writer who studied the behavior of animals described this in a powerful way. He talked about how, when you put two male baboons in the same cage, they immediately try to assert dominance. They open their mouths, bare their teeth, and blow air at each other. But here's the interesting part. One of them, even if he has bigger teeth, will blow with less confidence. It's like an internal weakness that shows him as the weaker one right from the start. There's no need for a physical fight. His spirit gives him away. The same thing happens with lions. When you put a group of lions together, without fighting, they quickly figure out who among them has the strongest presence, who is the natural leader. That lion, the leader, gets the best meat, drinks water first, and rules the group. When a tamer enters a cage with a big cat that's acting out, his attitude is similar to how a king lion would feel if someone challenged his authority. The writer points out that it's not always the baboon with the biggest, sharpest teeth that's in charge. The king lion doesn't always prove his dominance by winning in a fight. What really makes the difference is something deeper, something that isn't physical. It's a kind of soul quality that the animal has. The same goes for people. It's not always the biggest or strongest person who ends up in charge. A leader stands out because of a special, mysterious quality we call spirit. Some people call it nerve, guts, or toughness. When two people meet, there's often a mental battle, even if no one says a word and there's no physical fight. Their souls seem to clash in a way, just by the way they look at each other. And in that moment, one person comes out on top, and the other accepts it. This decision happens in an instant, and both people know who has won. There might not be any bad feelings between them, and they might even become friends, but one of them will naturally take the lead from then on. And this leadership doesn't come from physical strength or intelligence, but from that special quality we call spirit. People recognize this spirit in themselves and in others without even realizing it. You've probably heard someone say a person lacks spirit or has had their spirit broken. When we say someone has mettle or is full of spirit, it's the same idea. A spirited person or horse is lively and determined. For example, breeders of racehorses say that a horse with spirit will often run a better race than one that's stronger but lacks that drive. Horses can sense when another horse has more spirit, and they might even give up and let themselves lose, even if they're physically stronger. This spirit is a kind of inner strength that all living beings have to different degrees. The good news is you can grow and strengthen your own spirit. In our next lesson, we'll talk about some examples of how this has shown up in different people. Oliver Wendell Holmes, in one of his books, paints a powerful picture of the clash of wills between two men. He describes a scene where one man, called the Core, was so furious that his face turned pale with rage, making his dark moustache and beard stand out dramatically. He was so angry that he reached for a glass as if he was going to throw it at the person speaking. But the younger man from Maryland just calmly looked him in the eye and placed his hand on the Kaur's arm, almost casually. At that moment, the Kaur realized he couldn't do anything. He was powerless because the young man had a stronger spirit. In just a few seconds, it was clear who had won the mental battle, without a single punch thrown. It was like a silent but intense wrestling match between two souls. This kind of contest is quick, but it leaves a lasting impact, often determining who takes the lead in a relationship for the rest of their lives. It's the same with animals in the barnyard. After a few jumps and kicks, the winner is clear, and the beaten one knows their place from then on. Father Jill once said that Emily Bronte's character, Heathcliff, a rough and physically strong man, was her idea of someone with immense willpower. But he believed that some quiet, gentle-looking men who might even wear glasses, could easily show Heathcliff who was truly superior. A famous historical example of this kind of strength of spirit is the meeting between Hugo, the Bishop of Lincoln, and King Richard the Lionheart. As Father Gill wisely points out, it's a mistake to think that this kind of strong willpower shows itself all the time. In fact, it often hides behind a polite, pleasant exterior. Many men and women seem so agreeable and accommodating that it looks like they have no will of their own, as though their only purpose is to go along with what others want. But when the right moment comes, their hidden strength reveals itself. What seemed like a soft, gentle hand is suddenly revealed to be an iron fist beneath a velvet glove. This quiet strength is the key to the art of diplomacy. For instance, Talleyrand, one of the most famous diplomats, was known for having a remarkable amount of this subtle power. He was calm, daring, and highly successful. Cavour, another great diplomat, also mastered this skill and used it wisely. On the other hand, loud, boastful people often lack this kind of strength. It's a power that stays beneath the surface, not always visible, but when the moment calls for it, it bursts forth like a powerful electric spark, sweeping everything before it. It's a force of nature, impossible to resist when it's fully unleashed. Chapter 4. Your latent powers. Most of us know from experience that our bodies have something called a second wind. When we do a physical task, we often feel out of breath and tired after a while. At that moment, we feel like stopping to rest. But if we push through and keep going, we usually find that the tiredness goes away and we get a burst of new energy, our second wind. What exactly causes this second wind is still a mystery to scientists. It seems like the body taps into hidden reserves of energy that it keeps stored away for when we need it most. Anyone who has played sports or done any intense physical activity knows about this second wind. It is a real thing, well known and accepted by athletes. Interestingly, the same thing that happens physically can also happen mentally. Just as our bodies can get a second wind, our minds can also access hidden reserves of energy. When we're doing difficult mental work and feel exhausted, a new challenge or motivation can suddenly boost our energy, giving us a second wind for our minds. With this new energy, we can tackle our tasks with more freshness and enthusiasm than before. It's like we've tapped into a new source of mental strength. Most of us don't realize the mental reserves of energy we have inside us. We go about our daily lives at our usual pace, thinking we're doing our best, but we're often only operating in our first wind mental state. Behind this is a great amount of untapped mental energy and power, just waiting to be awakened by our will. We are far more capable and powerful than we often realize, like giants who don't know their own strength. Many of us are like young elephants trained by weak handlers who don't realize their own power. Inside our minds, beyond our everyday thoughts, are vast possibilities and hidden strengths. The problem is that we don't know these abilities exist, or we don't have a strong enough reason to use them. We haven't found the drive to take action, the strong desire to do big things. This strong desire, this want to hard enough, is what pushes us forward in life. Desire is the spark that ignites the will to act. Without a strong enough reason to push ourselves, we often accomplish very little. When you have a strong, burning desire driving you, it acts as a powerful force pushing you to take action. With this kind of motivation, you can reach a second wind mentally, and not just a second, but a third, fourth, or even fifth wind, tapping into deeper levels of inner strength and energy to achieve amazing things. We often look at the great accomplishments of successful people and think they must have some special quality that we don't, but that's not true. We all have the potential to do far more than we are currently doing. The problem isn't that we lack the power or mental ability, it's that we lack the desire, interest, and motivation to wake up these amazing reserves of energy within us. We don't take advantage of the mental second wind that's always available to us, a force that is naturally eager to be used and expressed. Yes, that's right. These forces within us are anxious and eager to come out. All natural forces that are held back seem to have a strong desire to break free and show themselves in action. This seems to be a basic law of life and nature. Everything in nature is eager to be active and express itself. Haven't you surprised yourself sometimes when, under a bit more pressure or motivation, something inside you seemed to burst out, driving you to take action? Haven't you done things in urgent situations that you would have thought impossible in a calmer state? When you are truly motivated and excited about a task, haven't you pushed through and accomplished much more than you would have if you were just going about it in a normal way? Now, two key factors in unlocking these hidden mental powers are earnestness and enthusiasm. But you don't have to wait until you feel super motivated or excited for these energies to kick in. With careful practice, you can train yourself to use your willpower effectively, to take control of your mind and tap into these energies whenever you need them. When you master this ability, you will discover that running at full speed, with all your energy focused, doesn't leave you more tired than moving slowly. In fact, this is one of the secrets to success. Many people think of the will as just having a strong and steady mind, similar to determination or having a clear goal. Others see it as being similar to desire or the ability to make choices. But for those who study deeper teachings like the occult, the will is much more than these things. To them, the will is a powerful, active force of the mind that can control and direct other mental abilities. It can also extend beyond the individual's mind, influencing others who come into its reach. This is how we use the word will in this lesson. We don't want to dive too deeply into complex theories or even the challenging paths of scientific psychology, but it's important to understand that willpower exists and how it relates to our sense of self, or I. Among all our mental abilities, the will is the closest to the I, or our core self. It is like the sword of power held by the self. You can separate yourself in thought from your other mental states and abilities. But when you think of your I, you naturally think of it as having the power of will. The will is a fundamental power of the self, always present from the beginning and remaining until the end. It is the force through which we should rule our mental and physical worlds and the way we express our individuality to the outside world. Desire is the driving force that pushes the will into action. As we've explained, willpower without desire to guide it is unimaginable. Therefore, cultivating and guiding our desires in the right direction creates paths for the will to follow. When you focus on developing certain desires, you are creating pathways for the will to flow and express itself. So make sure you are clear about what you want by forming strong mental pictures of your goals. Reinforce these desire paths by paying attention to them regularly and using positive self-suggestion. Throughout history, there are countless examples of people who have mastered the use of their will. We say mastered the use rather than developed will, because the will is always there. ready to be used. What people develop is their ability to use it effectively. We often use the example of a trolley car to illustrate this idea, and it remains a fitting comparison. A person is like a trolley car, with their mind like a trolley pole reaching up to connect with the live wire of the will. The willpower flows through this wire, and by tapping into it, the person is able to move, act, and show their strength. The power is always there in the wire. What we develop is our ability to raise our mental pole to connect with it and draw on its energy. If you keep this idea in your mind, you will find it easier to apply this truth in your daily life. A great promoter of the steel pen and electroplating industries is a prime example of someone who possesses a powerful will. It has been said that he began with a strong, almost unstoppable will, and no matter who or what stood in his way, he would ultimately overcome it. As Buckle once said, "The longer I live, the more I am convinced that the big difference between people, between the weak and the strong, the great and the small, is energy, unbreakable determination, a clear purpose, and the mindset of victory or death. This quality will achieve anything that can be done in this world, and no amount of talent, opportunity, or luck will make a man without it." In these quotes, the idea of persistence and determination is closely tied to the idea of will. The message is that the will should be kept steady and firm against the task at hand, much like a steel chisel is held firmly against a piece on a lathe until the job is done. It is not just determination or persistence that gets the job done. Those would be useless without the will driving the effort. The will serves a dual purpose here. It is the force that does the work, and it is also the strength that keeps the mind focused on the task. So the will is both the power behind persistence and determination, and the force that accomplishes the work itself. It is both the sharp edge of the chisel and the steady hand that holds it. Simpson once said, "A strong desire and a tireless will can achieve what seems impossible to those who lack passion and strength." Similarly, Benjamin Disraeli stated, "After much thought, I am convinced that a person with a fixed purpose will accomplish it, and that nothing can resist a will which will stake even existence upon its fulfillment." Foster observed, "It is amazing how even life's random events seem to bend to a spirit that refuses to bend to them. When a person shows a firm and decisive spirit, it's interesting to see how obstacles seem to clear away, giving them room and freedom." Mitchell added, "It is resolve that reveals a person's true strength, not weak resolve, not a vague determination, not an aimless purpose, but a strong and tireless will that crushes difficulties and dangers, much like a boy stomps on the frost-covered ground in winter. This will ignites the mind and spirit with a powerful drive toward what seems impossible. Will is what makes men giants. So raise your mental trolley pole and connect to the live wire of your will." Chapter 5. Soul Force. You've probably heard the word enthusiasm many times and used it yourself, but have you ever thought about what it truly means, where it comes from, and its essence? Most people haven't. The word enthusiasm comes from the Greek word meaning to be inspired or to be possessed by the gods. Originally, it was used to describe the mental state of someone who seemed inspired or influenced by a higher power, almost as if they were in a state of ecstasy. Today, the word is commonly defined, according to Webster, as a fervent and passionate zeal or interest, a lively display of joy or passion. It can sometimes also imply a kind of visionary zeal or overactive imagination, which gives it a secondary, less favorable meaning. However, its primary meaning is a deep, lively interest in something that seems to awaken inner forces within a person. Real enthusiasm is a strong mental state that works in support of or against an idea. A person filled with genuine enthusiasm seems to be inspired by something beyond themselves. They tap into a source of power that they aren't usually aware of, becoming like a powerful magnet, radiating energy in all directions and influencing others around them. Enthusiasm is contagious. When someone truly feels it, they become a center of influence and power. But the power of enthusiasm does not come from outside. It comes from deep within one's mind or soul, from their inner consciousness. Those who have read our manual, Inner Consciousness, will easily understand which part of the mind this power comes from. Enthusiasm is really a form of soul power, and when it is genuine, people around you can sense it and feel its effects. Without a good amount of enthusiasm, no one has ever achieved true success, and no one ever will. There is no other power in personal interaction that compares to the right kind of enthusiasm. It involves earnestness, concentration, and energy, and very few people can resist its influence when it's expressed by someone else. Many people do not understand the true value of enthusiasm. Some have succeeded because they had it, while others have failed because they lacked it. Enthusiasm is like the steam that drives the engine of our minds, helping us accomplish great things in life. You cannot properly complete a task unless you feel some level of interest in it. And what is enthusiasm, if not interest combined with inspiration? Enthusiasm is simply inspired interest. It is through enthusiasm that the great things in life are achieved and brought to fruition. Enthusiasm isn't something only a few people have while others lack it. Everyone has the potential for enthusiasm, but only a few know how to express it. Most people are afraid to really feel deeply about something and to let that feeling push them into strong action, like steam in an engine. They don't know how to build up steam and keep the fires of interest and desire burning in their minds. As a result, they don't manage to create enough steam of enthusiasm. Enthusiasm can be developed by nurturing interest and love for what you do. Interest, confidence, and desire help awaken enthusiasm, and it is up to you to focus it directly on the object, person, or task you wish to influence, rather than letting it scatter aimlessly. Just like steam, enthusiasm can either be focused and used or wasted. When directed with concentration, it produces results. When wasted, it doesn't. The more interested you are in something, the more your confidence and desire grow, and from this combination, the steam of enthusiasm arises. Always remember that interest is the mother of enthusiasm. An enthusiastic person naturally has an optimistic mindset and creates an atmosphere of confidence and positivity around them. This helps inspire others and supports their own efforts. They create a mental environment filled with success. Their energy spreads to others, and people who come into contact with them unconsciously pick up on their positive vibrations. Enthusiasm is very contagious, and when someone is filled with the right kind of enthusiasm, they unconsciously pass on their passion, earnestness, and positive expectations to those around them. Enthusiasm is a key element in what people often refer to as personal magnetism. It is a lively, warm, and powerful mental quality that energizes not only the person who feels it, but also those around them. Unlike the cold, indifferent attitude that many people encounter in business, which can easily cause potential deals or opportunities to be lost, enthusiasm brings life and energy to interactions. A person who lacks enthusiasm loses more than half of their personal influence. Even if their arguments are solid and their proposals are strong, without the vital warmth of enthusiasm, much of their effort is wasted and their results are diminished. A person who gives their best effort is never truly a failure. They are always a success in their own right. Even if their best may seem small or insignificant to others, the world will still recognize their victory because they gave it their all. Someone who does their best is neither a quitter nor a shirker. They stick with their work until they've given it everything they have at that moment. Such a person cannot be considered a failure. The person who does their best is never heard asking the pessimistic question, "What's the use?" They aren't bothered by such doubts. Their focus is on the job at hand, and they won't settle for anything less than their best effort. And when someone can genuinely say, "Yes, I did my best," they will find that the question, "What's the use?" answers itself. There is value in bringing out your best work, if for no other reason than because it builds character and develops your true self. The negative question, "What's the use?" seems to have been invented by some dark, pessimistic force to discourage people who are making tough efforts or fighting against the odds. It has dragged many down into the depths of despair and failure. Whenever this question pops into your mind, chase it away and replace it with, "Am I doing my best?" An honest yes to this question answers the other one as well. Anything is worthwhile if it is done with the right attitude, for a worthy cause, and because your own sense of self demands it. Even if it leads to personal sacrifice or great challenge, achieving your best is always a success. A person isn't truly dead until their heart stops beating, and no one has truly failed as long as they have even a little fight left in them. Often, it's in that one moment more that everything changes, the moment when the enemy loses its grip and falls back, beaten. Chapter 6. The Power of Desire. What is desire? According to Webster, desire is the natural longing to have something that seems good, a strong wish to gain or enjoy something. It can also mean, in a negative sense, an excessive or unhealthy craving, like lust or appetite. The word desire is often misunderstood and misused. Many people think of desire only in its negative form, forgetting its original and positive meaning. For them, desire suggests a low or unhealthy craving, rather than a noble longing or aspiration. Calling desire aspiration doesn't change the fact that it is still desire. Describing it as a worthy goal or ambition doesn't change its nature either. There is no point in trying to avoid the truth that desire is the natural and universal force that drives action, whether that action is good or bad. Without desire, the will has no reason to act, and nothing gets done. Even the highest goals and achievements are reached only when the will is fueled by the energy of desire. Some spiritual teachings talk about the need to kill off desire entirely, warning students to avoid it in all forms, even going as far as to suggest avoiding the desire to be without desire. This is nonsense, because if someone wishes, wants, prefers, or decides to eliminate desire, they are still showing a desire not to desire under a different name. Wishing, wanting, feeling inclined, or being pleased to do something are just forms of desire, even if they try to disguise themselves with other terms. Trying to kill off desire without actually desiring to do so is like trying to lift yourself by pulling on your own shoestrings. An impossible task. What these teachings are really suggesting is that one should eliminate lower, more selfish desires and also avoid becoming overly attached to things. On this point, they are correct. True spiritual seekers understand that even good things aren't valuable enough to let them control or rule over us. Nothing should be important enough to hold our souls in bondage. The soul should always be the master, never the servant of things. That's what these teachings mean by avoiding attachment, and in this, they are absolutely right. Desire can be both dangerous and helpful, depending on how we manage it. Like fire, if left uncontrolled, it can destroy everything inside us, leaving nothing but emptiness. But just like fire can be useful when controlled, desire can also be a powerful tool to help us achieve great things. With the right desire, we find the energy to act, to do work, and to accomplish much in life. Without desire, the world would become inactive and stagnant. So instead of avoiding desire, just like you wouldn't avoid using fire when needed, the key is to stay in control. Don't let desire take over your life. Keep it in check. Desire is the force that drives most human actions, whether we admit it or not. If you look closely, you can see desire behind almost every action, whether it's good or bad. As a writer once said, everything we do is motivated by some form of desire. For example, we might give to charity because we want to ease our discomfort when we see others suffer, or because we desire approval, or maybe because we want to be rewarded in the afterlife. A kind person acts kindly because it makes them feel good, while a cruel person may be cruel for the same reason. They find some satisfaction in it. Someone does their duty because it gives them a deeper sense of fulfillment than ignoring it would. A religious person follows their faith because their religious desires are stronger than worldly ones. A moral person lives according to their values because it brings them more satisfaction than living immorally would. Desire, whether high or low, drives everything we do. No one can be entirely without desire and still act. It's the natural law of life. Every living thing, from the tiniest particles to humans and all of nature, acts because of the force of desire, which pushes everything into motion. At first it might seem like humans are just slaves to their desires, acting on whatever feeling pops into their minds. But that's not true. We don't act on every little desire. Instead, we act on the strongest ones. The combination of our strongest desires is what forms our character, and this is where we can take control. We don't have to be ruled by our desires. If we choose to, we can guide, manage, and even change them. In fact, with enough willpower, we can create new desires by using our knowledge and reason. Humans have the power to shape their own minds. Some people might argue, but doesn't the desire to change still come from another desire? Isn't desire always the reason behind action? This is a deep question, and advanced thinkers know that at a certain point, desire and will begin to blend. At this higher level of thinking, it's almost as if a person can use their will to will something into existence, not just because they desire it, but because they choose to act. This level of willpower is something that must be experienced to truly understand, as words can only go so far in explaining it. We have said that humans have the power not only to control desire, but also to create it. This is completely true, and recent findings in psychology confirm it. While many people are controlled by their desires, it is possible for them to become the master of desire and even the creator of it. Through knowledge and willpower, a person can turn things around. Instead of being controlled by their desires, they can take charge, sit in the seat of power, and make their desires work for them. The best way to do this is by getting rid of negative thoughts and replacing them with new, better ones. Here's how you can do it. First, think carefully about what you want to achieve. Take the time to think it over with a clear and fair mind. Then honestly look at yourself and figure out where you are lacking in the skills or qualities needed to accomplish your goal. Break down the task into smaller, manageable steps, so you can understand both the big picture and the smaller details. After that, list the main things you need to do in order to complete the task, not the day-to-day actions, but the big steps that will lead to success. Once you have a clear idea of the task and your strengths and weaknesses, it's time to start creating desire. The first step in doing this is to form a clear and strong mental image of the qualities, actions, and details needed to succeed. You need to be able to see, in your mind, a picture of what you want to achieve and how you will get there. This is where your imagination comes into play. Don't dismiss the idea of imagination. Many people misunderstand it. Imagination is much more than just daydreaming or fantasizing. It is a powerful tool that allows the mind to create a blueprint for what you want to bring into reality. Imagination is a real ability of the mind. It creates a pattern or model for things, and with strong willpower and desire, these things can eventually become real. Everything that has ever been made by humans first existed in someone's imagination. Imagination is the first step in creating anything, whether it's something big or small. Before anything can take shape in the real world, it must first exist in the mind. So before you can create a new desire, you need to clearly imagine what it is you want to desire. At first, you might find it harder than expected to create a clear mental picture. You may only be able to form a vague image of what you want, but don't get discouraged. Keep practicing. Like anything else, the more you practice, the better you'll get. Each time you try, the mental image will become clearer, and the details will stand out more. Don't overwork yourself in the beginning. If you get tired, take a break and try again later or the next day. But keep at it, and eventually, you'll be able to see in your mind exactly what you want to desire, just like how you can remember something you've already seen in the past. Once you have developed a clear mental picture of what you want to achieve and desire, the next step is to focus your attention on it. The word attention comes from the Latin word attendere, meaning to stretch forth. This reflects how the mind works. When we focus, it's like our mind reaches out toward the object of attention. So keep your goals in mind as often as you can, allowing your mind to fully grasp them and make them part of your thinking. By focusing this way, you deeply impress these ideas onto your mind, as if engraving them into a tablet. After you've firmly set the image in your mind through imagination and focus, you can begin to nurture a strong desire for the materialization of your goals. This means building a real longing, a craving, and a demand for the things you want to achieve. Demand from yourself that you develop the qualities needed to reach your goal. Demand that the mental pictures you've created in your mind become real in your life. Demand that each detail becomes part of your reality, while also allowing room for even better outcomes to arise as you progress. Trust that your inner self will help guide you through this process. Now, as you focus on your desires, make sure that you desire them strongly, confidently, and with real passion. Don't be half-hearted in what you want. Fully commit to your desires and believe that they will come into reality. Think about your goals constantly, dream about them, and always feel that deep longing for them to come true. You must train yourself to want your goals as if your life depended on it. Want them as badly as you would want food if you were starving. Many of us don't achieve our goals because we don't want them enough. We confuse weak cravings and casual wishes with real, intense and demanding desires. If you truly want something, you have to develop that strong, burning desire to achieve it, the same way you need and crave your daily meals. That's the kind of desire you need, an all-consuming need for your goals. This is just a starting point, but if you're serious and really want to achieve your desires, you already know what to do. It's all about how much you want it. Chapter 7. Personal Magnetism. These days, we hear a lot about personal magnetism. This is a special quality that some people have, which allows them to influence others and make them feel more in tune with their thoughts and emotions. Some people seem to have an incredible amount of this magnetism and can quickly get others to agree with them or feel connected. On the other hand, some people lack this ability and may even make others feel irritated or resistant when they are around. Most people accept the idea of personal magnetism without much question, but few can explain exactly how it works. However, those who study this topic closely have found that personal magnetism is all about a person's mental state and how well they can make others pick up on their mental energy. This process is called mental induction. To understand this better, think about induction in science. Induction is when one object with electrical or magnetic energy transfers that energy to another object without even touching it. Mental induction works in a similar way, but on a mental or emotional level. Just like how certain diseases are contagious, mental states can also be caught by others. If someone has a lot of life, energy, and excitement in their thoughts, those feelings can spread to others who are around them. We explained this idea more deeply in a book called Mental Influence. From what we have seen, one of the most important ingredients in creating personal magnetism is enthusiasm. We've already talked about enthusiasm in previous part of this audiobook, and it's good to remember that enthusiasm plays a big role in creating personal magnetism. Enthusiasm gives a person a sense of sincerity and passion, and there's nothing quite as powerful as that. When someone is truly enthusiastic and sincere, it's hard not to pay attention to them. Their energy grabs your focus, even if you didn't plan to give them your attention. Walter D. Moody, a well-known writer on salesmanship, made an interesting point when he said, "It will be found that all men possessed of personal magnetism are very much in earnest. Their intense earnestness is magnetic." Many others who study personal magnetism have noticed this as well. However, this type of earnestness needs to be more than just a strong, confident belief in whatever the person is talking about. It has to be an alive kind of earnestness. something that feels like it's bursting with energy. The best way to describe this is enthusiastic earnestness, which is the type of energy that can move others and draw them into your mindset. This means that to develop personal magnetism, you need to do more than simply believe in what you're saying. You need to feel excited about it and let that excitement spread to those around you. When you bring enthusiasm into your interactions, your mental energy becomes contagious, making it easier for others to align with you and feel positively connected. That's the key term, enthusiastic earnestness. This type of energy has a lot of emotion packed into it, and it connects with people on a deep emotional level, rather than just appealing to their logical thinking side. What's interesting is that even if you're presenting a rational argument based on facts and logic, doing it with enthusiastic earnestness makes it much more impactful than if you were to deliver the same argument in a cold, detached manner. Most people are wired in such a way that they naturally respond to feelings and emotions. When someone expresses lively, passionate emotions, people warm up to them quickly. In terms of personal magnetism, the emotional side of our minds is just as important, if not more so, than the thinking side. The truth is, while many of us don't spend much time deeply thinking, everyone experiences emotions all the time. An old writer from history made an insightful observation when he said, "Each of us gives off a kind of atmosphere, an aura or energy that reflects who we are. Sensitive people can pick up on this, so can our pets like dogs, and even wild animals like lions, tigers, and insects." He pointed out that some people radiate warmth, love, and friendliness, while others come across as cold, intellectual, and logical, but lack magnetism. If you've ever seen someone like that, a very smart, logical person, give a speech, you might notice how quickly the audience loses interest. Even though the speaker might be full of knowledge and wisdom, their cold and intellectual approach fails to engage the crowd emotionally. It's like they're talking at the audience rather than into them. This can make people feel tired or bored because they aren't being made to feel anything. It's simply not enough to make people think. You have to make them feel. In fact, people are often more willing to pay for entertainment that stirs their emotions, like making them laugh or cry, than for something that only gives them information or makes them think. Now, imagine putting this logical speaker up against someone who isn't as highly educated, but has warmth, charm, and a lot of heart. This second person might only have a fraction of the knowledge of the first speaker, but their emotional connection will win the crowd over easily. The audience will hang on every word, wide awake and soaking in the message. Why? Because it's the heart that wins over the head. When it comes to capturing people's attention, soul always triumphs over pure logic. The emotional connection will almost always be more powerful than intellectual persuasion. If you look at people who are considered highly magnetic, you'll notice that they almost always have what people describe as soul. This means they project emotions and feelings that resonate with others. These magnetic individuals are similar to actors or actresses in a way. They put a part of themselves out there, and this energy affects the people they interact with. It's like they're sharing a piece of their spirit with everyone they meet, which creates a strong, lasting impact. So if you want to be magnetic, it's not just about being smart or logical. You need to tap into that enthusiastic earnestness, connect emotionally, and let your soul shine through. This is what makes people feel drawn to you and makes them want to listen, not just with their minds, but with their hearts. Notice an actor who doesn't naturally have a magnetic presence, and you'll observe that even though they may have memorized their lines perfectly, adopted the right mannerisms, and mastered the technical skills of acting, there's still something missing. That something is the ability to convey real emotion or feeling to the audience. However, those who understand the craft of acting know that many successful actors who seem full of passion and emotion on stage often feel very little of those emotions while performing. They are like phonographs playing back recorded sounds. If you dig deeper, you'll discover that during their private practice sessions, these actors create a fake version of the emotions their role requires. They focus on this simulated emotion and pair it with the right gestures and movements until it becomes a part of their mental routine, just like a phonograph's record is engraved onto wax. Later, when they perform the part on stage, this practiced appearance of emotion, along with the gestures, movements, and voice emphasis, comes across naturally to the audience. It's said that if an actor genuinely allows themselves to be swept away by the emotion of the part while on stage, the result isn't great. This is because they get lost in their own feelings, which impacts them personally rather than affecting the audience. The best performance, they say, comes when an actor has previously experienced the emotion, but during the performance reproduces it without letting it overwhelm them. This insight is especially helpful for those who don't naturally have a magnetic or captivating personality. For such people, it's beneficial to practice the desired feeling of excitement or passion in private, repeating the rehearsals until it becomes a habit. Then, when the time comes, they can reproduce that feeling effectively on stage. The advice here is to be a good actor. Remember that frequent practice and private rehearsal are what make a good actor. It's much better to be able to create feelings and enthusiasm in this controlled way than to either lack it altogether or become overwhelmed by it. One can be reasonably passionate and earnest without being overly emotional or dramatic. The careful reader will understand this idea and see that through repeated practice, the desired traits will eventually feel real and natural. Chapter 8. Attractive Personality. In our lesson on individuality, we explained that what we often call personality is not the true I of a person. Instead, it represents the me part, the outward appearance we show to the world. Personality, in its original meaning, refers to the mask we wear, like an actor wearing a costume and mask on stage. Just as an actor can change their mask and costume for a different role, a person can also change, adjust, or replace parts of their personality to suit their needs or desires. Although personality is not the real I or the inner self, it still plays a very important role in life, especially because people tend to focus more on a person's outward personality than on the true individual behind it. For this reason, it's important for everyone to develop a personality that is appealing and helps them connect with others in a positive way. We are not suggesting that people should pretend to be someone they're not, or engage in deception. We believe that individuality is the true self, and that each person should grow and develop into their best and highest self, following the natural process of personal growth. But since we all have to present a personality as we go through life, we think it's not only useful, but also a responsibility to make that personality as pleasant and attractive as possible. You might notice that no matter how good, intelligent, or well-meaning a person is, if they have an unpleasant or unattractive personality, they are at a disadvantage. They may drive people away who could have been helped by them, or who would want to get to know them if they could see past that unpleasant mask. By unattractive personality, we don't mean physical appearance. While good looks can sometimes help, the charm of one's personality is much more powerful and lasting than just physical beauty. There are many people who have beautiful faces, but whose personalities are not charming, and they end up pushing others away. On the other hand, some people may not be physically attractive. They might have plain or even homely features, but their personality is so warm and inviting that others are naturally drawn to them. We all know people whose company we enjoy because of their kind and pleasant manner, and being around them makes us forget whether they are traditionally beautiful or not. In fact, when we're with them, even their plain or homely features seem to glow, and they become beautiful in our eyes. When we talk about personality in the way we're using it now, we're talking about something closely related to personal magnetism, which we discussed earlier. One of the key things that people should develop if they want to have a charming personality is a positive, cheerful mindset. There's nothing more uplifting than being around a cheerful person, and nothing more draining than being around someone who acts like a wet blanket, bringing down the mood of everyone around them. Think about the people you know. You can probably sort them into two groups, the cheerful ones and the gloomy ones. People naturally prefer those who are upbeat, like a sunny Jim, over those who are constantly negative, like a gloomy Gus. You'll want to be around the cheerful ones, while you'll likely try to avoid the gloomy ones. The Japanese are aware of this concept and teach their children from a young age to always show a cheerful, sunny face to the world, no matter what they are going through inside. They believe it's poor manners to burden others with their personal sorrows, keeping those emotions private instead. To everyone else they show a smile, and this approach is wise for several reasons. First, it helps them maintain a positive mindset. Second, it attracts other positive people and experiences to them due to the law of attraction. Third, it makes them more likable and welcome in social and work situations. On the other hand, people who constantly bring negative energy, like the gloomy Gus types, often find themselves avoided by others. Nobody wants to deal with more problems than they already have. Remember the old saying, "Laugh, and the world laughs with you. Weep, and you weep alone. For this sad old earth is in need of mirth and has troubles enough of its own." That's why you should develop a genuine smile that sticks, a true asset to your personality. Not a silly fake grin, but a real smile that comes from within. If you want a simple phrase to guide you in creating the kind of mental state that leads to a positive personality, use this: bright, cheerful, and happy. Imagine this phrase framed and hanging in your mind like an illuminated sign: bright, cheerful, and happy. Memorize it, visualize it, and let it become real for you. Live it out, and soon it will be a natural part of who you are. When you do, you'll have a personality that truly stands out. This might sound simple or even childish to you, but if you put it into practice, it could be worth a lot to you, no matter what job or life situation you're in. One of the most important qualities you can have is self-respect. If you truly respect yourself, it shows in how you act and present yourself. If you don't feel like you have self-respect, it's time to start building it. Start by acting like you respect yourself on the outside. Stand tall, take care of your appearance, and then work on developing genuine self-respect within. Remember, you're a person with value, not someone who should feel like a doormat or less than others. Face the world with confidence. Stand up straight, look ahead, and keep your head held high. There's nothing like a strong posture and a raised head to face life's challenges. When you slouch or hang your head, it's like you're apologizing for being alive, and people will treat you as if you don't value yourself. But when you stand tall, you can walk past the obstacles standing in your way to success. Here's some good advice. Keep your earlobes directly above your shoulders, making sure your head is straight, not tilted to the side. This posture reflects strength. Many people make the mistake of tilting their heads to the side, especially when they're waiting or feeling unsure. But strong, confident people keep their heads straight and shoulders firm. This posture radiates strength and confidence. Every part of your body should reflect self-respect. This advice isn't just about looking good, it's also about how you feel on the inside. Your actions shape your thoughts, just like your thoughts shape your actions. So if you act like you have self-respect, you'll start to feel it too. Don't shrink, don't grovel, and don't act like you're unworthy. Be a real human being with dignity. Another important trait to develop is the ability to take an interest in other people. Too many people are so focused on themselves that they seem distant or disconnected from those around them. This attitude shows in their personality in an unpleasant way. People who act like this are often seen as cold or uncaring, and they give off a vibe of selfishness. Others tend to avoid people like this, leaving them to their own self-centered ways. Such individuals often struggle to connect with others and rarely become popular or well-liked in social or professional settings. Taking an interest in others is a valuable skill that can really pay off if you're aiming for success. Of course, you should always keep your own goals and priorities in mind and not let your interests suffer because you're too focused on others. It's about finding balance. Being overly selfless is just as bad as being too selfish. But there's a middle ground you can find. You can discover something interesting about everyone you meet, and when you focus on that, people notice and appreciate it. In turn, they're more likely to take an interest in you as well. This isn't about being fake, flattering people, or just trying to get something out of them. It's about a basic principle. You get what you give. Think about it. People who seem the most attractive or interesting to you are usually the ones who show interest in you. Showing interest in others can take many forms, one of which is simply being a good listener. Now, this doesn't mean you should let everyone dump their problems or endless chatter on you. You have to use common sense and manage your time wisely depending on who you're talking to and the situation. What we really mean is that when you do listen, make sure you're listening well. There's no better compliment than paying full attention to someone when they're speaking. Good listening is about genuine interest, and that's not something you can easily learn from a book. A good rule of thumb is to listen as you would want to be listened to. The golden rule applies here too. Treat others as you want to be treated, and you'll see positive results. People think highly of those who take the time to listen to them. This reminds us of the story of Thomas Carlyle, who was known to be a grumpy, sarcastic old man who often spoke harshly to those around him. One day, a visitor came to see Carlyle, and this visitor knew how to be a great listener. He got Carlyle talking about something he was passionate about, and then just sat back and listened attentively. Carlyle talked non-stop for hours, growing more excited as he went on. When the visitor finally had to leave, Carlyle walked him to the door, still full of energy and good spirits. As he said goodbye, Carlyle warmly encouraged him, saying, "Come again, man, come again and often. You have a wonderfully bright mind, and I've really enjoyed our conversation. You're a most delightful conversationalist." Carlyle was praising him, not because the man spoke much, but because he listened so well. Remember, it's important not to overwhelm people with your own stories or experiences. It's usually better to keep your personal stuff to a minimum, unless it really adds to the conversation. People don't want to hear all about how great you are. They'd much rather tell you about how great they are. That's usually a lot more enjoyable for them. Don't spend your time talking about your problems or bragging about your achievements. Nobody wants to hear all about how wonderful your baby is. Other people have their own lives and their own babies to think about. Instead, try to talk about things that are interesting to the person you're speaking with. If they want to do most of the talking, forget about yourself for a while and take a genuine interest in them. Some of the best salespeople know the value of making customers feel like they're on the same side. That means showing the customer that you genuinely care about making sure they're happy, well served, and getting exactly what they need. A salesperson who can make a customer feel like they're being taken care of in this way is already on the road to success. It's not easy to explain how to do this exactly, but if you observe, think about it, and practice the techniques from earlier lessons, you can get much better at it. A recent writer put it well: if you're in business and you want to grow, you can't just make every sale a routine transaction. Don't just take the customer's money, give them their product, and send them off feeling like you're only interested in your profit. If the customer doesn't feel that you truly care about helping them and meeting their needs, you're losing out. When you make every customer feel like you're genuinely invested in their success and satisfaction, your business will thrive. This doesn't mean you have to offer special discounts or bonuses. It's about showing genuine interest and energy in every single interaction, no matter how small. This advice is spot on and is definitely worth following. Another key part of having a strong personality is self-control, especially when it comes to managing your temper. Losing your temper isn't a sign of strength, it's a sign of weakness. When you get angry, you immediately put yourself at a disadvantage. Remember the old saying, Those whom the gods would destroy, they first make angry. Anger can make you act irrationally and do things you'll later regret. It throws your good judgment, experience, and caution out the window and makes you act like a person who's lost their mind. Anger really is a form of madness. If you don't believe it, just watch the next angry person you see. Look at how irrational they seem. It's widely known that if you keep your cool while the other person is fuming, you've got the upper hand because you're the calm, rational one. It's usually better to let the other person get worked up while you stay calm. You'll find that it's pretty easy to de-escalate someone's anger when you don't get angry yourself. And since it takes two to argue, the situation often resolves quickly when only one person is fired up. Another tip is to control your outward behavior to help manage your inner state of mind. For example, if you keep your voice calm, steady, and at a low pitch, it's much harder to get worked up. Even better, when you stay calm, the other person will often start to mirror you and lower their voice too. Before you know it, you'll both be speaking in a calm tone, and you've set the tone for the conversation. This little trick of controlling your voice is a powerful tool for managing your interactions, and it's definitely worth practicing. While we're talking about the voice, it's also worth focusing on how to control and improve it. A person with a well-controlled, smooth, and pleasant voice has an advantage over others who may be just as skilled in other areas but lack this quality. A vibrant, resonant, soft, and flexible voice can be a powerful tool. If you already have a good voice, consider yourself lucky. If not, don't worry. You can develop it with some effort. Yes, it's possible. Have you ever heard of Nathan Shepherd, the well-known public speaker? If not, listen to his story about his struggles with his voice and how he overcame them to become a great speaker. He said, "When I decided to focus on public speaking, my teachers and advisors told me I would certainly fail. They said my speech was poor, and it was. They said my vocal cords were inadequate, and they were. They even said that if I puckered my little mouth, it could fit into my mother's thimble, and they were right." These words stung me deeply, and I've never forgotten them. But maybe that sting pushed me to be more persistent than I would have been otherwise. At any rate, that's how self-made success works in this world. I may not have achieved a lot, and I don't claim to have achieved a lot. But making a living from my speaking for 20 years is something I'm proud of, despite all the challenges and discouragements. I achieved this by using my willpower to improve my voice, training my speaking instincts, sharpening my ear for the rhythm of speech, understanding myself and my voice, and making the most of what I had. After hearing Shepherd's words, it's clear that any more advice from us on improving your voice with practice and determination would be redundant. Decide on the type of voice that best suits your needs, and then work on developing it with dedication and effort. If Nathan Shepherd could become a renowned public speaker despite his many setbacks, then saying "I can't" just makes you sound like you're giving up too easily. We've also been asked to talk a bit about the importance of physical appearance and posture as part of one's personality, especially when it comes to walking. However, it's not really necessary to add much more beyond what we've already discussed about self-respect. The key is to build a strong sense of self-respect, and everything else will naturally follow. Thoughts turn into actions, and if you genuinely respect yourself, it will show in how you carry yourself, through your movements, gestures, and overall demeanor. Self-respect has to be genuine. It must come from the inside, not just the outside. Of course, paying attention to your appearance is important, especially when it comes to how you dress. Cleanliness and neatness of both body and clothes are crucial. Being well-dressed doesn't mean being flashy. In fact, the best-dressed people are often those who blend in rather than stand out. Aim for a simple and refined look that reflects quality rather than showiness. And above all, make sure to be clean. In conclusion, let's remind you once again that what we call personality is just the outer expression of who you are inside. It's like a mask that you can change if you put in the effort and use your willpower and good judgment. First, figure out the kind of personality you want to have, then get to work on developing it, growing it, in fact. Imagine clearly in your mind what you want to be. Think about it often, desire it with all your heart, and commit to making it a reality. Then, act it out repeatedly, like rehearsing a role, until you actually bring your ideal self into the real world. Create a clear mental image or pattern of the personality you want, and then continuously pour your energy and thoughts into that mold. As you do this, the character and personality you desire will start to take shape. Once you've formed this new personality, keep polishing it and improving it until it shines brightly with the confidence and refinement you're aiming for. You can become whatever you want if you truly want it badly enough. Desire is the driving force behind making your dreams a reality. Remember the old saying, earnest desire, confident expectation, firm resolve. These are the 3 keys to achieving your goals. We've shared this little secret of success with you. Now it's up to you to use it. We've given you the starting push, but the rest is in your hands. There's no shortcut to success. No magical process that can instantly turn someone who's struggling into a business tycoon or a Wall Street giant. It's almost funny, and sometimes a bit sad to see all the so-called success guides out there, written by self-proclaimed experts. The truth is, no one can hand you a guaranteed formula in a few pages that will lead you straight to the success you're looking for. Success is a deeply personal journey, and while advice and inspiration can help, it's ultimately up to you to find your own way. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, and no one can promise you that following their method will fulfill your deepest goals. So, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and forge your path with determination, creativity, and a willingness to learn and grow along the way. The cold, hard truth is that each person must take responsibility for their own success. While rules and advice can be helpful, the real work has to be done by the individual. You have to shape your own destiny. No higher power will step in and do the work if you refuse to put in the effort yourself. The old saying, God helps those who help themselves, holds true in more ways than one. It's true in the sense that higher powers, or luck, often seem to avoid those who aren't willing to try and make things happen for themselves. But it's also true that help does come to those who throw their heart and soul into the tasks before them, who tackle each day's work with the best effort they can muster, filled with hope and a strong belief that better things are just around the corner. The wise person is the one who takes the next step courageously, putting their foot down firmly and confidently, even when they can't see what's beyond. For these people, step after step lights up as they move forward, and eventually they reach their goals. On the other hand, those who shrink back because they can't see what's further ahead are left standing still, just waiting for something to happen. But waiting is a poor strategy. As Garfield once said, don't wait for something to turn up. Go out and turn something up. So, take the step right in front of you with boldness and hope, and the next step will reveal itself. Focus on what's right in front of you, the task at hand. Do it to the best of your ability, knowing that by doing so, you are moving closer to the better things you've been dreaming of. New ideas often come when you're already in motion, and it's during the act of doing that the inspiration for bigger and better things comes. You'll always get a better start when you're already in motion compared to waiting around for the perfect moment to begin. So, get into action. Get moving. We truly believe that success largely depends on recognizing and expressing this inner strength. If you study the character and achievements of successful people, you'll see that even though they differ in personal traits, they all have that sense of something within them that gives them confidence, power, and the courage to move forward. They know they have an inner strength that fuels their self-confidence and determination. So remember, the path to success isn't just about following someone else's rules or waiting for the perfect opportunity. It's about taking charge of your own journey, tapping into that inner strength, and boldly taking one step at a time. Keep moving forward, and trust that each step will lead you closer to the success you're aiming for. Most successful people feel that there is something supporting them, something beyond their efforts that helps them achieve their goals. Some call it luck, destiny, or fate. But no matter the name, it's all about recognizing an inner strength that backs them up. They sense this help even if they can't quite explain it. Most don't even bother to question what it is because they're too busy focusing on their work. They just know that it's there. This something within is the true self, the I that exists in each person. It's the source of the power that people show when they tap into it. This book is written with the hope that it might be the first step for many in recognizing, developing, and expressing this inner power. We strongly encourage you to cultivate this sense of I am, so you can realize the power inside you. Once you do, you'll naturally develop the mindset of I can and I will, which is one of the most powerful beliefs you can hold. This confidence is the outward expression of the inner strength that we hope you will discover and bring out into the world. Above all the advice we can offer, we believe that recognizing and cultivating this inner power is the key factor in the secret of success. By embracing this inner force, you equip yourself with the strongest foundation for achieving your goals. So, trust in your I am, believe in your I can, and act with your I will, because that's the essence of true personal power and success. Thank you for listening.